Hey guys, I'm trying to make more Silent Hill videos, and I was planning to do more like a better high quality with clips and stuff, but I said it's really hard. I don't know how people make YouTube videos a week by themselves. But yeah, I said I've been looking at some video analysis, and I want to add something in my own interpretations. I only saw a couple of them, but I do want to go over the thing is what really happened with Mary in Silent Hill 2. Now, I'm just going to do a short recap in case there's a lot of people who never actually played the game. So, let's do a quick spoiler overview of what happened. So, in the beginning of the game, James gets a letter here. In my restless dreams, I see that town, Silent Hill. You promised me you'll take me there again someday, but you never did. Well, I'm alone there now, in our special place, waiting for you. So James goes to town thinking that his dead wife that he perceived that died 3 years ago is waiting there. He doesn't know if it's real or not, but he's desperate to see that. Along the way, like adventures, he sees a girl named Laura who says that, huh? Are you blind? You don't love Mary anyway. To respond to what's the girl doing there anyway. That's an interesting clue which I'll follow up later. And he also meets someone that named Maria that looks pretty much like a dead ringer to his deceased wife. And she dies a couple of times and stuff, and this seems really creepy even in the context. But yeah, she might end up being the final boss if really in most cases. And basically after going through lots of painful things, you meet Laura again, who gives a letter saying that from last year that she met her last year, Mary. And basically Mary was planning to adopt her, and this was 1 year ago. So that's why James says then Mary couldn't have died 3 years ago. So yeah, that makes things a bit mysterious. And then in the game, you actually get a tape and you see yourself or James smothering Mary in her sleep. So yeah, that's the basic. Oh yeah, so there's one more. This is from Silent Hill 4, which I haven't got a chance to play, but my research shows one mention of this. I got this photo from Sutherland, the superintendent. I heard his son and daughter-in-law disappeared in Silent Hill a few years back. So that's the one reference Silent Hill 4 is connected to, besides Walter Sullivan. So there's 3 mystery questions I would kind of like to say. When and why did James kill Mary? I'm saying that because was it actually 3 years ago that James killed Mary? Was it a week ago? And why? Also, I should have added the where. I just realized that. Was it at their home or was it at Silent Hill? That kind of makes a couple of, references to that. I said, like, I read some research about the director saying it was in water ending. It was a week ago and the body's in the back seat. We could just take that, but it said there's also one that said was in the trunk. So, we can do the death of the author here or make our own canon when it comes to that. But, yeah, I'll just say that I got a couple of theories, and one that actually fits with the director's one anyway. And second, why did Mary ever mention Laura to James? It's not even in the final letter that you get that, it doesn't mention Laura, like, I want you to adopt her. And, yes, James visited, Mary a lot less as the final years came. But you think Mary would have mentioned Laura? And, James did not know who Laura was for the entire game. So, yeah, that's actually a good question. Why didn't she ever mention that? Heck, Laura could have brought some light to James's life while he was depressed for a while. If James had time to adapt and know her in the final year, might have been better for that. And how real was the final letter? That's a good question to ask, because is that what James thinks the letter should represent? After all, the one says that, in my dreams I'm waiting for you in our special place. Did Mary actually wrote that part? Or was it the second part that was actually what Mary wrote? Remember, in all endings, you get the letter in different ways. From Maria or Mary. It could, yeah, but the letter contexts are the same. So those are 3 questions, and I got 3 theories on how it works here. So, theory number 1. James just went crazy, or Silent Hill drove him crazy. So this one is probably the one that most people actually fits most stuff here. So the letter is fake, and James, yeah, because Silent Hill erased his memory, or Silent Hill drove him crazy. Now the reason why I put the second one is that maybe when and where James killed Mary was due to the fact that he was actually taking her to Silent Hill, and during the hotel or whatever place they were supposed to be in the special place, that's when he actually killed her. Then did the water ending, like similar to driving the back seat. That might actually make it more sense why he was driven to go that, because Silent Hill brought the dark urges inside him. And yeah, that's what caused him to snap. And that's probably why it's in the tape as well. It said, James wanted to be a good boy. It said, like, Mary was about to die in his 3rd year of looking after Mary. And then, yeah, Silent Hill just messed up his brain. It said, look at Eddie in the beginning. I don't think he was that psychotic from the beginning. Even though he probably did kill the dog, but the town drove him crazier and crazier. Who's to say it didn't happen to James in the beginning, before the beginning of the game? He just had the dark thoughts about trying to strangle him. And yeah, Silent Hill just drove him crazy. And he also erased his memory of Laura. Because it said, according to his memory, Mary died 3 years ago. And you can see that's a metaphor for that Mary was dead to him when the minute she got the cancer. But yeah, he erased all his memories, including Laura. Maybe Laura and James did meet. Because Laura just said, are you blind? Like, you know, she might have expected him to remember her, and kind of got offended by that. So that's theory number 1. There's probably a couple of flaws in just going crazy, because then you can just say that for nearly every plot of what happened. Unreliable narrator. That theory could work. And yeah, but well, I said, we'll go on to the next one now, because I can probably discuss this with someone all day. And I do hope in the comments someone that does watch this will go on my theory. The second one, James didn't actually kill her. Silent Hill waiting for you. Okay, now this one is probably a big stretch here, because it said a lot of characters acted like did that. James acted like when he saw the tape did that. And then Mary, you know, the final scene of that. So there's a lot of mental gymnastics to get around this, but this actually came from when I read a story analysis on GameFAQs a few years back about how James didn't really kill her because she was still alive. So there's a couple of reasons how this happened. He actually did try to smother her, but he failed, and then he actually ran for 3 years. Because he was under a lot of stress, and then he just said like she just died from the disease. And did that. And Mary was actually waiting for that. Then in the final years actually met Laura. Dan wrote the letter hoping for James to come back. And she was hoping to die in Silent Hill and get James to come there. Because the town is, you know, cursed and stuff. It also may explain why, yeah, it does explain why James doesn't know Laura. And the final letter makes a bit more sense. Except for the second half by saying, I'm coming home. I literally saw the hotel as the actual place. So there's a lot of theories you can make flaws in this already. Like I said, like who took her to Silent Hill? And also the letter of the father saying that both James and Mary disappeared in Silent Hill. So I think it was confirmed. It's kind of implying that at the very least the father knew that James and Mary were going to be in Silent Hill when they disappeared. Kind of works for that. So that's one reason why I feel like, why kill Mary right now, like before when at home? Maybe they decided to actually go to Silent Hill and then do that. Remember, the tape is kind of vague on where the death occurred. Like, I thought it was implied to be in the same bed in the final stage, but that's way too big for a house. Then again, James could have been rich. They managed to keep her on life support for 3 years without, going bankrupt. That might have happened. Or, that's part of like the gigantic rooftop. It's probably not the hotel room. It actually looks more like a hospital, to be honest, that final place. But yeah, so James might not actually kill her, but the tape and stuff was messing with him, because that was his urges. That's one theory. So that's just his dark desires, and that's what the tape did. But as I said, I don't really actually agree with that theory, and that Mary waited yet another 3 years to actually, die. Because I said the diagnosis was like 6 months to 3 years. It might have happened, or it might not have. So that's 2 theories that I was thinking of. And the third one is the one that I feel like is actually, it hasn't been responded before, but it's more developed. And I hope you guys, I actually want you guys to discuss this, okay? This is why I even want to make this video. Mary was actually a spirit all along. Now, we know Maria was born from a wish. But I said, I'm comparing to Lisa Garland as well. She actually died, but she physically still appeared to Harry as a ghost or a spirit to Cheryl. Again, Cheryl's nothing. And Laura was actually, a ghost all along. That not even Rachel, the nurse. We never see Rachel. And maybe both Rachel and Mary was a ghost to Laura. And that's why the last few years was trying to give Laura hope. And the thing is, it's actually a bit vague of which hospital Mary and Laura actually met. So Mary might have been a ghost because they wanted to return to Silent Hill and wanted James to return. But she only physically appeared to Laura and Rachel as well. I said, and it could have happened because Maria met Ernest as well, even though you never see Ernest, but we actually do see physical ghosts like Lisa Garland as well here. And this is a good parallel, which is why I'm juxtaposing the picture here. And that Mary actually did send the final letter, but it's a ghost thing. That's why the letter disappears, because her spirit is decreasing. It's a letter to send to James and sent to Laura. She actually wants secretly to adopt, and depending on what ending, her wish is fulfilled. So it actually answers the question, why didn't Mary ever tell James about Laura? Is because they haven't met and she was a ghost hiding there. And she realized that, she wanted to move on to a better place, but wanted James to get closure in the end. That's why he sent the final letter. And said he did kill Mary 3 years ago. And then he was just resting. And for the same reason, frustration stuff. It doesn't really answer the why and when, because it said, besides the usual ones that I was just frustrated. I still find it weird because it said she's about to die in 1 month or less than a month to go, because clearly that's what the doctor said. That's why she was sent home. And it probably wouldn't happen in the hospital, the death. But yeah, you can still argue that things could have happened. Maybe a mixture of theory number 3 and 1 combined. Like he actually got the Silent Hill made James kill Mary. So yeah, that's my thought. Mary was actually a spirit trying to guide that. And look, if you look at the game as well, which I just thought of, like the radios and stuff, and from the tape saying, James, come find me, that was actually Mary's ghost communicating to him, not from James's mind. So Mary might have actually been there. And remember, she actually just appeared in the Maria ending. And that implies there was 3 years was the 3rd year when he actually killed her. So yeah, and there's a lot of frustration and stuff on. But I think her ghost depends on your actions, reacts to how James did the game as you as the player. And that's why she can afford to give you closure just based on what she sees James do, trying to get him to come to her. And I also got a theory that Laura and said like she was actually helping, Mary was helping Laura at the same time, guiding that through. That's how she can get through unharmed and get through as far as she did. She was subconsciously trying to tie James and Laura together to fulfill her wish. As it goes. There's probably more stuff I had, but let me just check my notes quickly. Dump the dumpty dum. Where did I put my notes here? But yeah, okay, one interesting fact while I look at my notes. You know the moth, the stuff, the final boss does represents change and finding the truth? That was interesting. So your bosses that you're fighting is the moth. You're trying to find the truth instead. Oh yeah, one other theory that actually had a debate on is that was Laura real or just a spirit? I don't really like to say that. And yeah. So yeah, let's check any other notes we have here. Yeah, so smothering her. I said, might want to end the pain. The scene's still sad with what happened regardless. I said, what do you say? This is the theory I want to actually be discussed the most. Do you think Mary was actually a legit ghost? And said Maria was maybe a creation of that, fusion of that indirectly to test James that Mary wanted to see. Because I said, the Maria ending, Mary actually knows about Maria. Is it from James' memory or is she watching that? I said Maria had a fusion of Mary's memories. Or maybe Mary was Maria testing that. Some parts of it. The Born from the Wish, well, yeah, maybe it's Mary's ghost trying to do that. We don't know how literally sentence it happened. Because it said she appears regardless, either way, as a test. And you notice at the end of the game, after you killed the boss of Mary, like in the bed and stuff, it said either way, you see Mary in the bed. So is Maria transforming to Mary in the next scene? And then, or did that happen? There's actually a lot of interesting theories you can have. And if I'm wrong, I haven't seen it been discussed in a few videos I've seen. So let's just go. Thanks for watching. I said this is version 1, and I hope one day when I have more time or even a budget or even employees, I can make a more detailed analysis and more entertaining. But this is what I have for now. Thanks for watching. See you later.